Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You get more information about previous shows, future shows, all that stuff at my website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive information and about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my two guests today, and they are Elizabeth DeVault and Mike Yao. And you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. Okay, so that's give a big wave. Elizabeth, that's you.
Yeah, oh, I
Okay,
already, yes.
there
All
you
five
go.
of them.
Okay, that's a big wave. Anyway,
Yeah,
thanks for joining me, and especially pleased to have Elizabeth join me because I think that Elizabeth, this is the first time you've been on a Plains World show.
that's correct. Yes, it's my
Very exciting.
inaugural one. So thank you
Okay.
for having me.
Well, welcome aboard, and Mike's kind of been a regular wee kid, but this is what Mike, the 72nd or 73rd
Can't get
time.
rid of me. Maybe
Okay,
71, 72.
great.
Can't
No,
get
for
enough.
real, I
Elizabeth,
think it's like, what, 12, 13?
a bunch. Anyway,
I don't know. Yeah.
I think you're up there, Mike, with the record, and I appreciate you as always. Elizabeth, since we haven't met before, what I always ask a guest the first time is in terms of a child you grew up where?
I grew up in Easley, South Carolina, which is a little bit outside of Greenville, in the upstate.
Okay, and when you were growing up in Easley, South Carolina, did you always know you wanted to be this theater person?
I did do theater from a very young age, so it's been a part of my life for quite a long time. My first community theater show was when I was 11, in the local community theater production of Sleeping Beauty. So that was really exciting,
Okay.
and I kind of just have kept doing it from there.
Do you
So
remember your
yeah.
role? Do you remember your role in Sleeping Beauty?
Yes, I was the pink lady. I was one of the fairies who blessed Sleeping Beauty with certain attributes, until the witch came in and cursed things and started the whole story. But yes, I was in a violently pink costume,
Well,
but and lots of glitter. But it
well,
was really fun.
I'm glad you remember that because Mike heard this idea too many times, Elizabeth, but nobody's yet taken me up on it. But what I want to do, Elizabeth, as a fundraiser for either Parkway or some other theater, is everybody recreates their first role. You know,
Oh,
in other
that's
words,
fun.
that role, did they take a video? Do you have a video of it?
Do probably somewhere.
Okay. But wouldn't that be cool though to just have it again then or revisit it, all these years later? So as 11-year-old, that was one of the first plays you were in. And then what, you continued thereafter?
Yes, so I did a lot of theater there in the area, and did a lot of directing, actually, like when I was teaching drama and English in a school, and did a lot of directing with students there, and then moved up to the Asheville area and have done some directing and performing up here as well.
And the question I always ask actors who became directors or vice versa, do you have preference, acting or directing?
That is a good question. I think for me, it's just the nature of it is different. Both are very fulfilling. Um, I like acting in the sense that you really can sort of explore the perspectives of people who are either very similar to you or very different to you, and trying to humanize each and every person and make sure that um, nothing is, you know, removed from truthiness, being authentic. But at the same time, directing, you're allowed to have a lot more control over the overall concept. And I really enjoy putting together concepts and executing visions that way. And so, in that sense, as an actor, you don't really have that much control. You're only really in charge of you. And for a director, you're in charge of really everything. And that can be daunting, but also extremely satisfying. And kind of, I've likened it to giving birth, where like eventually it's like, now here's the baby, and now it has its own agency in life, but I had to do all this work in order to get it to be there. And so I don't know if necessarily I prefer one or the other, but I will say directing, is just as satisfying to me as acting, but it's just different.
It's interesting you
Um,
mention that because a lot of times I'll ask an actor and he or she will say they prefer directing because the truth being they don't have to memorize the lines,
oh,
so
well, that
uh,
is definitely something that I don't have to worry about. And when I'm directing something, I'm usually like I give the subtext of a thing and not the actual lines. I'm like, oh, that time where you're clearly confessing that you hate someone, but I don't know what the lines are. I'm really bad at that when I'm directing.
yeah, you
Um,
mentioned, you mentioned that, Elizabeth. Let me ask
yeah.
you this, because it's happened, Mike, I don't know if you heard about this lately, but it's happened very much in the Asheville area recently. There's several people who are directing plays, and they have to step in for parts as well. Have you ever had to do that?
Me personally, I have. It's been a while. I almost had to do that for when I was on the directing team for Henry IV for Montfort Park Players last year. Almost did, but fortunately that worked out where I didn't have to because I was also literally in another show. But it's been a while. But I was recently in a show where the director had to step in and perform some stuff themselves. So it does
What show was that?
Into the Woods.
Okay,
Into the
that's
woods.
right. Yeah, as a great example, um,
Yeah.
that show also, and you were great in that, by the way. Now I do remember it.
Thank you.
But also, poor Zoe Zelunke at Asheville Community Theater was telling me recently she had to step in and do four separate parts in a play.
Yeah.
That's about the record. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, she was stellar.
yeah,
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
but just
Zoe's great. Yeah.
yeah. And Mike, I'll ask you that question too, as we talk about your background. But have you ever had to do that? Have you ever had to direct and then step in as an actor?
I mean, I've only directed maybe 7 or 8 shows, maybe 9 or so, which I do enjoy. I'm kind of, not to go back to the previous question, but I agree with Elizabeth. Like, it's two different jobs. One informs the other, obviously, experience-wise. But I've never had to step in while I was directing. Fortunately,
Yeah,
no, I
but
haven't. I've almost had to once or twice, but
they just give people so much credit. And so, Mike, what I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, we'll kind of give the Reader's Digest version of your background. But you've been acting a couple of years, would you say?
yeah, a couple months. Um,
Couple of months. Mike,
You're doing great.
when did you start again?
for a couple months, I guess it's not too terrible.
No, when did you start again as an actor?
I mean, I guess professionally, 18 to 20 years ago, or I guess semi-professionally is probably more accurate. But as far as like doing it, period, I guess I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I think I was tree number 12
Mm.
in some production.
Okay.
But
Well,
I rocked that tree. I leaned literally into it because I believe there was a lot of leaning and swaying.
but you don't remember
Uh,
you don't remember the name of it, the show?
no, but yeah, actually, fortunately, from there, I then started getting like bigger roles, like pretty immediately, even as a little kid. But I remember just being like tree number 12 or whatever it was.
That's a lot of
But
true.
anyway, it's cool. You have that fond memory of it. So I guess it left some kind of impression, at least on me. But
Well, it didn't scare you off. The thing that, Mike, that I find cool about you is that in addition to acting, which I love seeing you as a performer and directing, but also talk a little bit about the fact that you're, I guess, now become a fight choreographer. And what is that? I don't know if I've ever spoken to you about this aspect of what you do. How do you get
yeah, I
into
don't
that?
think you're right. I don't think we've. So yeah, that's so I was hired to do that for this show as well, helping Elizabeth with that, and that's been great because it's great to take Elizabeth's vision and kind of put my little, not really my spin, but how it would work fight wise, like more mechanically than it is creatively. That's more Elizabeth's thing. But in fight choreography, it's a story within a story. So each fight has to be like it's telling a story, and it obviously complements the greater story. Now, this one isn't super complex. I will freely admit it's just pretty much bang bang stuff. Not to spoil anything, but where I've choreographed Three Musketeers, where like these elaborate sword fighting scenes, which is really more my thing is swords, rapier and broadsword. But I know enough about firearms and like unarmed martial arts to kind of at least fudge it. But anyway, so yeah, it's kind of fun. So, but I've been doing fight choreography, I guess, uh, 15 years maybe. Started down in Atlanta, and then when we moved up here, Karen and I. So, yeah.
How'd you get into that?
It just so I did used to do a lot of medieval reenactment stuff, and I got really much, particularly involved in the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages. That's kind of my realm of knowledge, so to speak. And so then after I learned to like actually fight for real with some of these weapons or quasi for real, I realized that well, I'm also getting into theater. I'm getting some gigs. I was getting into film, and so I was able to kind of marry the two together. And I realized fight choreography or fight choreographer is a fairly rare role. A lot of people don't really do that, and so it's really good. I mean, I've only know maybe three in the area. Uh, Montfort's is well, it used to be Jared, right?
Jared
What was he?
does the
He's still
Deanna as well.
okay.
They kind of had there have been some emerging from Mumford.
Oh, yeah.
John
Okay,
Mark
yeah.
was,
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah. But I guess my overall point, there's not too many people that I know of that specialize in that.
Do you have something, Mike, in down the road that you want to be a fight choreographer for? Okay, well,
I mean, Three Musketeers is a great. Unfortunately, I played Porthos, which is the lead, one of the Musketeers, and did the fight choreography once, and that was way too much. But something to that level with that. I mean, McBee. I guess. Well, I'm not technically in the theater. I could say the whole thing. That's a really good one because it's pretty bloody, a la Bloodletting in these hills. I mean, it can be, and it's broadswords, and that's my favorite, honestly, or instead of rapier. There's two basic types of fight choreography as far as swords go, rapier and broadsword. Um, anyway, that was a really rambling answer to get nowhere.
have you ever done this for things not involving swords or guns, fighting, boxing, wrestling,
Yeah,
anything?
I've done a couple of those things. I remember in of Mice and Men. Speaking about having to step in, I was not director, but I was hired as the fight choreographer to do the big. This is the big thing where what's his? I played the character, the little guy who had to fight Lenny. The big
Little
fight
guy.
scene there. Yeah, what was the character's name? I
But
played him.
but you had stepped in on that role?
Yes, right. So I did the fight choreo, and then 3 days before they opened, I guess they fired the original actor or he quit or something, and they were like, "Hey, can you come do the role?" And on like, I think I had one rehearsal, maybe two. But at least I knew the fight, but the lines were kind of, yeah, I was kind of fudging some lines in there, but a lot of it was just cussing and
Okay,
stuff.
you could do that. And Elizabeth, then we'll fast forward that in terms of where you are now. So you're doing a show now at Parkway, and it's kind of
Mhm.
exciting about it. It's the first time the show has ever been done.
Yes, that's correct. It is a new work. It's never been staged before, so we are the first ones to fully produce it, which is very exciting and a little daunting too, but mostly just really honored to be able to put this on the stage for the first time. Yeah.
And the name of the play is?
Bloodletting in these hills.
Okay. And talk a little bit about that, how it got to Parkway, or what's the story behind it?
Well, Parkway hosts an Appalachian Play Festival every year. In fact, they're hosting one this year, I believe, in the fall. And they pick a few plays that are sent in for each festival, and those plays are uh, staged as readings. And then people get to vote on which play is the one that they think was the best. They have a panel and everything like that. And so this play, Bloodletting in These Hills, was the winner of the play festival last season. So it won in fall 2024, and the winner gets to be staged in the 2025 season and subsequent seasons.
Now,
So this is the one that won. So now we're staging it.
when they did the reading, were you involved in that at all, or did you see it?
I was not involved in this reading, but I was involved in another one of the readings that they asked me to stage. So I was involved in the festival, but not this particular reading. Yeah.
Mike, were you involved in this reading by chance? Do you know?
No, I was not. I'd heard of it, but and then obviously when auditions came up, it kind of excited me. I like pretty much anything that involves Appalachia and in history. I'm kind of a history buff, so
So,
yeah. And I was real honored to have been cast because there's only five, cast of five,
Yeah.
so on
and
this one,
Karen's in it
Liz,
as well. So
on this one, Elizabeth, then has the playwright, where is he from? He or she from?
Um, I'm actually not sure where he hails from, but he has lived all over and he does have ties to Appalachia. And this particular mining strike of the Cabin Creek and Paint Creek mining strikes in 1912 through 13 really fascinated him. And so he did a lot of research, apparently for years and years, on this particular event to construct this story. So it is very near and dear to him. In fact, he told us, me and Mike were talking to him via Zoom about a few things, and he said, these people, they're fictional, but in terms of people that he envisions, they are real people to him. That represent real desires and hopes and dreams. And so he's very invested in the story. There's a lot of heart and love to it that he put in.
So very cool that you got to speak to him as well.
Yeah.
Will he be able to see it?
Yes. I believe he's coming opening, but if not opening, definitely one of the six shows. But he will get to see it, and he was able to see the reading as well last fall.
But it must be very cool for him. Can you imagine to have your play and then all of a sudden produced for the first time? Has he had anything else produced before?
He has. I'm not familiar with the titles of those, but he's been a playwright for over a decade now. I'm fairly certain it might be longer than that. So he's been doing this for a while. He also has a background being on stage, also as a magician, which is fun and exciting. So he has a very interesting um, resume that I think informs a lot of the work that he does. But Bloodletting is the one, of course, I am most familiar with and excited to put on. Yeah.
Elizabeth, for the benefit of folks who don't know the show, which is most everybody, can you kind of give the Reader's Digest version of the story, keeping it under maybe like under 25 minutes? Can you do it? Give it.
Under 25, I can
Yeah.
definitely do that.
Okay.
So this centers around five people, in particular, a family of four. There is Caleb, the patriarch. There is Joshua, the son, who is involved in the mining strike. There is Anna, who is the sister, who is helping out her father at the company store. There's Aunt Lillian, who comes in from Chicago after her husband, who is Caleb's brother, passes away. She comes to stay with them. And then there is Quinn, who is an enforcer for the mining company. So it all takes place in the storage space of the company store. Each scene is comprised of five scenes, and really talking about the different tensions between those who want to toe the line, like Caleb, those who want revolution, like Joshua, and then those who are definitely wanting to oppress the strikers like Quinn. And so it just deals a lot of the family dynamics that occur there. And without giving too much away, definitely tensions come to a head. And there are clear, maybe not necessarily clear, but there are those who survive and those who don't. And just the fallout of really all the pain that came from the mining strikes and really how poorly they were handled by those in power. So that's really more of thematic overlay than what happens plot-wise. But it definitely, a big theme is family and loyalty and doing the right thing, even when it's hard and even when you have a high price to pay for it.
So I'm not familiar with the history on it, but this has been based on real. There have been strikes in at the time when this came about.
Yes, this is based off of a real strike. I mentioned the Cabin Creek and Paint Creek strikes. So those were the where the mining camps were along those bodies of water. And so they're basically like tents that they set up because they were striking against oppressive conditions in the mines. And there were strikes before this time in West Virginia, as well as Kentucky and various places throughout the country. And around the world too. There are lots of notable strikes in Europe too. And there have been strikes since then. There, in fact, is a famous one in the 70s, I believe, that was either in Kentucky or West Virginia. But these are based off of real strikes that occurred. It was cool. We were able to pull like historical photos to help inform some of our set design and some of our costume design that are from this exact event that we discuss in the show. So
Now, to prepare for this, did you read any of the history of this on top of the play, or did you
I
check into
did.
it?
Yeah, I definitely did some research, which is always recommended, especially if you're directing a show, to make sure you know what is this about. So sometimes that doesn't happen, and especially if you're unfamiliar with it. I was not familiar with the strikes, and so I really wanted to know about just how it affected families, and who the big players were, and a particular historical figure, Mother Jones, who was a big union advocate in the US, also threw her hat in the ring with these strikes. And I feel Lillian is kind of like an homage to Mother Jones with that
Yeah.
she's very strong-willed and has a very strong sense of justice. And so that is a real character who is mentioned in the show, Mother Jones, who was actually involved with the strike, which is really cool.
Well, Mike, I'll ask you the same kind of question, but first I want to thank you for not only being on the show now, but also Mike's in the costume that he's going to be wearing. Is that an authentic cap from the that era?
Oh, this I wear this cap on every show.
Okay,
Oh,
Elizabeth
of
is
course.
letting me get away with it.
no,
Of course. Yeah,
No,
you need your Tennessee cap.
exactly,
that's
Mike.
right. I mean, it's
Right.
Appalachia. Well, if it's East Tennessee.
Same thing.
Uh,
Question,
no, I'm
Mike.
not going to wear the. Only in Act Two do I wear this hat, Blaine. No, that's not true at all. No, the costuming is actually really good. So I guess we should shout out to Dakota Whitehead. I don't know. I think
Okay.
you prefer
Yes.
to about Austin actually, but
Mhm.
yeah. So
Well, Mike, same question I asked Elizabeth though. In terms of preparing for this, did you do anything more than just read the script? Did you read any of the history?
oh, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did the usual thing, like you get cast in a role and then you have to do your prep. And so I kind of delved into it because I think I'd heard of something called the Mine Wars, which was it was just like what people were calling it because it was kind of a civil war in a way.
Sounds like.
But then I delved deeper into that period because that period, and we kind of talked about this at one of the rehearsals, I believe, Elizabeth, but it's not a super well known. Like for some reason, the 20s on was kind of known, and like the 1880s and before was more known. But for some reason, this weird period in 1912, 1913, particularly in Appalachia, West Virginia, was not particularly well known. So, and I think that's part of the story is that this stuff was happening and it was kind of being ignored in a way because of the bigger city folk were kind of like, that's these Appalachian people or these hillbillies are just going to kill each other, whatever. And anyway, so that kind of spoke to my soul a little bit to kind of delve into the role. And, I always like historical roles anyway. So,
What's
long story
interesting,
short, yeah.
what's interesting, Mike, about this, I would think for you and Elizabeth, is that you can't refer to a film about this. I always wonder, like, is it a good idea if you're going to be acting in a play, if there's a film, do you try to see the film beforehand or do you wait till after the show?
Is that just open
Oh,
for
open, great.
everyone
Yeah. I'm
concerned?
just curious.
Um, I I know there's some people that have very strong opinions about like in terms of researching a character role that they don't want to, have anything else inform their decisions. So they don't look at previous productions, either if they're like pro shots of a stage production or a film. I'm like, pull your research from wherever. I don't tend to be very picky because there can be some very good film adaptations of plays and vice versa. That does happen too. Um, but for this, of course, there is no film or anything like that. But I think get your research where you can find it, even if it's not research for accuracy, but rather for vibe, for different creative ideas. Like, don't be picky because sometimes researching even offshoot things or things that don't seem obvious can really come up with some really interesting ideas that inform the work that you do, either as a director or actor. So that's my opinion.
And Mike, in terms of this show, your role is what?
So I play Caleb. He's the family patriarch that Elizabeth had mentioned. And he's kind of torn. He starts the I don't know to spoil it too much, but he's pretty loyal to the mining company and the store that he's running. And he's an injured ex-miner. He used to work in the hole as they called referred to the mines, the coal mines. Got injured and sort of got this gig running the company's store. And as the story progresses, again without giving away too much, his loyalties kind of shift. He begins to learn the truths, or at least a truth, of what's possibly going on beyond the little town that we're in. And yeah, and then it just all kind of comes to the head at the end. So yeah, it's kind of fun playing that character that's sort of neutral in a way, but well, maybe, and then he kind of shifts a little bit towards the end. And
What
then
from?
doing the accent's always a lot of fun. But
You have an accent in this?
I mean,
What?
we're all doing Appalachian accents. I feel like I'm doing too much. I'm just going to wait for Elizabeth to tell me like tone it down a little bit.
Well,
It's not too
no.
much, not at all. Y'all are doing a great
Well,
job.
Okay.
Elizabeth, what I once did, I should have done this with Mike, but I once had actors, do the interview in the actors they were, so I didn't put you on the spot, Mike, but that would have been fun to have you. Or give me,
You could have interviewed Caleb instead of Mike. He's a little more interesting, probably.
there it is. Okay, thank you. Elizabeth, aside from Mike, who else is in the show?
So we have, hold on. I just want to make sure I don't mispronounce anyone's name. So of course we have Mike as Caleb. We have Karen Covington Yao as Lillian. We've got Mary Weisgerber as Anna, the daughter, and Raider Montgomery as Joshua, the son, and Jason Phillips as Quinn, who is the mining enforcer.
Mike, how is it? I know you've done it in the past, but what's it like working with your wife in a show?
It's the worst because she's not here. No, no, it's great. I mean, it's good because it's better mechanically speaking, like because you can ride to rehearsals together. Because if we're called to rehearsals usually at the same time, but creatively, we've probably talked about this before. Our approaches are a little different. Like we don't run lines together. We do our own little thing, which is kind of interesting. But then for some reason, once we get on stage, we usually kind of click. Well, for I guess because we've known each other a while, um, but yeah, we our processes are just totally different. She records lines, and I'm like low tech. I just go over them over and over and that sort of thing. But I
And
used to walk on mountain trails with my script, and that was my way of focusing because you could the terrain was you had to like learn the lines as you were focusing on the terrain. I don't do that as much anymore, but that used to be kind of like my thing.
Elizabeth, Mike was, I think, the first one who told me though that yeah, he doesn't read lines with his wife. It's and a lot of people do, so it was kind of interesting to find that out. Elizabeth, who would you say this show is directed at? Who should see it?
Well, I think everyone personally. But I do think that those who are from Appalachia, or those who have some sort of connection, even if they're not originally from, will definitely resonate with this show. But really, the mark of a great show is that some aspect of it will resonate with everyone. Not every show is going to do that. Some will resonate more than others, but at least some aspect of it. And I do think that the idea of family and family tensions and family loyalties is a draw for just about anyone, whether or not you're from Burnsville, North Carolina, or you're from, Vermont or California. We all can identify with that. But I think especially those who are from the area will find a lot of the elements of the show very familiar.
What would you say
And
the age range people should see it? Is there
well, it does get a little hairy towards the end, violence wise. So I probably wouldn't recommend very young viewers. Um, Maybe I don't know, 15 on up, or yeah, definitely not our younger children. who are not double digits. That might be a little scary towards the end. But I do think that beyond that, age range wise, there's something for everybody here. So,
So 76-year-old guys can say it. It's okay.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And
Elizabeth,
59-year-olds too, like you, Blaine.
okay, is that it? And Elizabeth, the specifics of in terms of dates and how to get tickets.
So this runs from August 1st through 10th on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Friday and Saturday performances are at 7:30. The matinees on Sundays are at 2:30. And you can get tickets at parkwayplayhouse.com/tickets, which is really easy.
And talk about
Um,
one other thing in terms of rehearsal. How long have you been in rehearsal for this?
Actually, for a community theater show, pretty short, a tight 4 weeks. Actually, just technically 3 weeks, and then Tech Week is our fourth week, and then we go.
Okay, and
So then come
how long do you rehearse?
in terms of the
Like,
hours
yeah,
in.
4 nights a week, five, how many, 4 hours?
So with my, I have work evenings sometimes. Uh, in terms of that, we usually 3 to 4 nights a week, usually for several hours, either 2 hours or 3 hours, um, to really get in everything that we need to, was approximately what the schedule looked like per week.
And I ask in terms of final question, after the run of this, Mike, can you share anything else you're going to be in the rest of the summer or the rest of the year?
Yeah, so after Bloodletting, I'm in Arsenic and Old Lace, which is also at Parkway Playhouse. I think it's the show right after. So I'll have to go right in that. I think Jason's in that also, who plays Quinn. And then I'm in Dashing Through the Snow at Hendersonville Theater for Christmas, and Karen's in that as well. So
Okay.
that'll
So
be fun.
you're getting a frequent flyer mileage on there.
Yeah,
Going up and down, that's quite a disparity between the
yeah. I'm
like
doing a little traveling children's theater show too right now.
it seems that
So it's going to be
also
funny. Our final children's theater show is during Bloodletting, so I'm going to have to go from Appalachian guy to whatever my accent was in that show. I think it was this something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
University.
amazing, Mike and Elizabeth, that people can do this. Do you ever do I guess you'll be doing like more than one show at a time, so you're doing one show, then you're working on another show. Have you ever done three at a time, Mike
Me personally,
or
no.
or Elizabeth? It just amazes me that people can do that, Elizabeth. That be on one show, rehearse on another, reading for a third, and Mike, in addition to that, he does 27 other things. I don't know how you do it, Mike, but you keep a little busy. Elizabeth, same question of you. Are you doing anything else after this that you can
I
share?
am. I will be taking to the stage again with Montfort Park Players and King Lear as the Fool, and that opens in September. And I'll also be doing some directing consultation of a one-man show that will be going up in September also. So I'll be doing two shows at once.
And what show is that? You said one man show.
Um, I think the title is still pending. It's the actor Alex McDonald Villarreal. He
Yep.
is going
All
to be
right.
doing his one-man show and expanding and extending it. So I'm going to be working with him on that, and that'll be going up at Heart actually
Oh,
in
cool.
mid-September. So
Okay, looking forward to that one too. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for being my guest on the Blaine's World webcast. Mike, if somebody wants to track you down or find out what else you're into or keep up with you, what's the best bet?
I mean, I have a website, but I haven't really kept it up. It was MikeYow.com, I guess. Facebook probably or Instagram. I've tried to do the X Twitter thing. I just can't connect. But
Exactly.
carrier pigeon also is perfect.
yeah.
And Elizabeth, the same
Yeah.
thing too. What else are you into after
Uh,
this? Oh, no, I'm
I
sorry. We mentioned that to contact you, best bet.
Same. I don't really have a website really for any of this sort of stuff, but Instagram, I am just ES DeVault, and on Facebook, I'm Elizabeth DeVault. There aren't too many DeVaults, so you should be able to find me pretty well. But yeah, so if anyone wants to connect that way, they are more than welcome. Yeah.
Anyway, Thank you very much, guys, for being on this edition of the Blaine's World webcast. Also, thank my producer, Cappy DeSetti. I hope to see you in this show next week or two. Thanks.
Thanks,
All
Blaine.
right. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
See you.